Welcome back to the Edit by Engage Creative. I'm Sophie.
And I'm Amy.
And we are so excited for this one because this podcast episode is your marketing questions answered.
Yes. We're giving the people what they want.
Before we jump into this one, it's been a few weeks since we've spoken. So kind of catch me up on what's been going on in the world of EC.
Oh my God, what hasn't been going on? Obviously, we went to New York on the wildest trip we've ever been on. And we won't bore you guys with the details of our very long
It was like 70
plane trip.
72 hours in New York.
But we were in New York 52 hours.
Oh, yep. It was a wild, what a time to be alive.
Yes. And then we've just launched our rebrand.
Yes.
Which is very exciting.
So exciting.
EC has had a little bit of a facelift.
I like to call it the Kris Jenner nip and tuck because we just were polishing up the surface.
Well, we've had that branding. We actually did that branding when COVID first hit. Remember?
Yeah, right.
COVID hit and we were like, well, we don't have a lot of work to do per se. Like we had some stuff going on, but we're like, well, we might as well just take this time and brand properly.
Yeah.
And have it all ready to go. So when we get out of COVID, we're all ready. But so that's been 6 years of our existing kind of logo and style and stuff. So yeah, it's exciting to bring our kind of
new era.
Feel grown up.
Yeah, I think it also makes sense. Like we have our second business, Engage Sales Agency now. So they're both businesses that complement each other and we needed a new branding to kind of showcase who we are on both sides of the business, creative and sales. So we're excited for this new era. The colours speak to my soul. I love the colours.
You do love the colours. I was a bit apprehensive first about the blue.
It's the eggshell blue that, nice.
It works very well together.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you haven't already seen a change on our socials, have a look because we're rolling out the new branding now.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's get stuck into some marketing questions or marketing, business, anything kind of wedding.
Yeah, we put this out on our Instagram and I feel like it's always good to have like general chit chat and also just like what everyone's talking about at the moment. So we've listed out a couple of questions and hopefully, going through them will help answer some burning questions that you guys might have.
Yeah. So first one, should I focus more on Instagram or TikTok for my business?
That is a question I would put on the back of that. So obviously there is no solid answer. I would say it depends on your business and what the objective is for your business. So I love Instagram. It's more polished. It's more like, edited, it has more of a filter on it, and it's something that I probably will see for an older demographic who does their research on Instagram. But TikTok, I am seeing the Gen Zs doing a lot of research on it for their wedding. So not discounting TikTok. I obviously think that it gives a more behind the scenes approach. It's a really fun way of highlighting your venue or behind the scenes of you making a dress or your boutique. But I think the caveat that I would say for TikTok is making sure that it's on brand. You don't want dancing videos. You don't want kind of girls, putting stuff together, kind of taking the mickey out of brides or whatever. We need to always keep it on brand and cohesive. But what is that strategy for each business? What do you think?
My take on it's a little bit different. I think that it depends on your audience and your dream clientele. Like, are you sitting in a younger market that's more like TikTok is their kind of first platform, followed by maybe Instagram, versus maybe a bit more of a mature audience? Maybe you're more in that luxury space where Instagram is more appropriate. But I think regardless, TikTok is good for general brand awareness. So utilizing both, but knowing as well, I think it's important to realize that you might not necessarily be able to see very tangible, like this booking came from TikTok. Yeah. It's like a discovery platform. It's like a first touch point platform.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the platform that people are going to click over and inquire straight away.
Yeah.
But if you look at it from the perspective of like, okay, well, they've seen me, or they've noticed the brand on TikTok, and then they've seen it again on Instagram, and then something else has happened. It is all building on that, getting the visibility out there, which you need multiple times before someone's going to take action and inquire. So I think it's important, but you could quite happily, again, if you're time poor, put everything into Instagram. And that be the main, if I was going to pick any platform, that would be the main platform if I only
to focus on.
Yeah,
I agree.
I only could do one.
Yeah. Cool.
This is an interesting one. I'm booked out. Do I still need to market?
Yes.
Yes, you do.
Yes. We always say that usually there's like a 3 to 4 month buffer where if you stop, that's fine for 3 to 4 months, but then you're really going to start to see a lag of inquiries, kind of a drop, a downturn. Usually the season will change. So, something will happen, like it gets the colder months. So yes, absolutely keep going with your marketing no matter what.
More of not so much I think a lot of wedding businesses will have like their peak time. So it's more so in their peak time when they're doing everything else in their business. That if you have had a steady stream of inquiries and you're happy with the number of bookings that you have in, I think you can get a little bit complacent that you don't really need to stretch yourself thinner by then putting time and effort into your marketing because of that. But exactly as you said, and we've even seen this with our own business. If you stop doing something, so say marketing, for example, you will notice in the future at what point that started to happen. And so if you can set up a thing where you're marketing, like there are evergreen pieces of content that work. Or you can get some outside help in those busy periods.
Like just to kind of riff off the back of that, like there's always new brides. Like no matter what, there is always new brides that are discovering your brand. And this is kind of like, a 12 to 18 month cycle before they move on to their next life journey. So always marketing yourself to those new brides is just so important. Like it's like in a content pillar, always, always kind of showcasing, who you are behind the brand, what you do, what are the services. It might feel like you're flogging it, but you're always targeting a new bride.
Yeah, it's very true. Is it worth paying for meta ads or should I just boost posts? This is probably a me question.
This is 100% a you question.
I think that there is an opportunity to do both, whether at the same time, simultaneously, or one or the other. I think boosted posts are really good to do if they're very like entry level in terms of the setup. The one thing I would do though is do it on your desktop, not your phone, so you don't pay the Apple service fee. But I think boost posts work really well if it's a well-performing piece of organic content or an announcement or something that you really want to highlight. Boosting it is going to give that visibility to that particular organic post. I wouldn't necessarily say just, as a habit, boost every single post. I don't think that's going to cost you a lot of money, in my opinion. If you're wanting more of a structure and a long-term thing, and maybe this is actually kind of going back to our previous question about like how often, like if I need to market all the time, having a paid ads campaign ongoing could be that answer for you, obviously budget pending, but having something that's giving you visibility in terms of like brand awareness and also driving traffic to your website, I would always recommend and doing that in a paid ad campaign. I would figure out what kind of budget you could work with over the space of 6 months to a year. And I would just have it in my mind that is like a marketing expense and that is something ongoing. And obviously at points in time, whether that's weekly, monthly, quarterly, you are updating the ad creative, looking at the results, optimizing it where you can. So I think there's businesses, and this is what we recommend to our clients as well, so like do both.
Yeah, there's a place for both.
Place for both. It just depends where your business is at and what you can prioritize or invest in at this point in time. Yeah. Everyone in my market seems to be offering the same thing. How do I stand out? I mean, look, I could give our branding as a perfect example.
Yeah.
I think your branding and like your visual representation of your brand could be a standout feature, but I also know, but you have to then be bold enough to have something that's a little bit different from everyone else.
Yeah.
So like for photographers, that could be your shooting style. For styling businesses, you know, rather than jumping on an existing trend, setting a new trend, something that gives you a bit of personality, I feel, is actually what is going to be the biggest driver to stand out.
I also think this is something that I'm like quite passionate about with our clients, is like customer service and like the kind of level that you provide when there is an inquiry. So even if that comes down to, for example, you're a bridal boutique and you've had an inquiry, the bride has booked, but you've actually called them, you know, a couple of days beforehand from the stylist and saying, hey, let me just like edit some pieces. What are you interested in? What's your price range? And just providing that next level of customer service. Is it also answering your DMs in a way that's really polite and professional and helps guide this couple through the journey? I think you will stand out from the crowd with your customer service, and that also then in turn will make referrals and word of mouth so much better.
So true, because if you think about it, like if you get back to someone in a timely message, ideally not super templated, because obviously you can pick a templated response with no kind of customization to your inquiry, that'll stand out. Because again, I think it goes back to if you're doing like all of the things, you can get a bit delayed sometimes in getting back to someone. And I think in this day and age, having a timely response is really important, and weirdly enough does stand out.
Yeah, I agree.
How do I position myself as a premium business when I'm not yet charging premium prices?
I think positioning yourself by having an edited lens on what you post, and also, again, customer service. I think the way that you portray and the way that you are engaging with your clients, having that premium kind of experience, not only trains yourself, but also gives that word of mouth, that kind of experience for that couple. But also the other point that I also think is being really edited. So a lot of people come to Engage Creative to say, look, I want to move into that next tier. And the way that I feel like we can move to that next tier is being a very edited lens on what you showcase, what work you showcase, what couples you showcase, what, you know, part of the venue that you showcase, what's on trend. So just kind of looking at what is trending and what that ideal client is going for, and editing your kind of service to that style.
Someone said to me once, and I now ask this of people when they ask this, literally like this question, and I say, with your work that you're showcasing, whether that be on your website or on your socials, is that the work that you ideally want? Do you want to get more of those types of weddings or clients or whatever? And most of the time they'll be like, no. It was either like, I want to offer a higher package, or like the client would, like they were difficult or they weren't as easy as my other clients, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, so only showcase the weddings and the testimonials and the whatever of weddings you want to attract.
Yeah.
If you keep putting work out there that you didn't love, or like was challenging for whatever reason, you're going to just continue to attract that. So it is hard, and like obviously that's where we can come in at times, because we are a third party and can be a bit more neutral with what we pick. But having that edited, I mean, it is also a little bit easier if you're a little bit more established and you have more weddings to pick from.
Well, just a layer from that, a great example is that we've worked with for a number of clients is a new campaign. It's low cost, but it also means that it can kind of pivot your style quite quickly. So if you have a new kind of concept or bride that you want to attract, organize a styled shoot, whether it being at your venue or at your new campaign, whatever it is, have a very edited approach to your new direction and only really start to use that content. And immediately you'll start to see the results, because that's a new way of kind of moving your branding forward and kind of your overall aesthetic, rather than just kind of like picking up old existing content that isn't on brand.
Yeah. And then finally, just in regards to pricing, I think you probably have to take the more softly approach of gradually increasing your pricing or creating a series of services or packages where you have an anchor point of like a lower tier and you have an anchor point of like a higher tier and then something in the middle. So people do have a couple of options of ways to work with you. And then, but obviously price the lower one at something that you're comfortable with. And then just, over time move the pricing up. I think I wouldn't recommend doing like a big jump unless you've had something like a influencer wedding or some amazing piece of PR or marketing that propels you. I think you'll really polarize your audience base and your customers if you jarringly raise your pricing.
I would agree.
How do I know if my Instagram is actually driving bookings or just a vanity metric? We love a vanity metric.
Well, we don't love
We
it.
don't.
We don't.
I'm joking.
Well, I think tangible inquiries and starting to track those inquiries, we love to look at when we deep dive into analytics, the website clicks, where people are going from your Instagram page. But then also, I think this is coming down to actually talking to your couple or your bride and saying, hey, where'd you find us from? Or, if they come in and they're asking for a particular gown, immediately you know that they found you on Instagram because they're pulling up photos on Instagram. So it's kind of a very layered approach.
I would agree. And I think, yes, you are only going to know if you put the things in place where you can somehow track it. So on your contact form, having a required section where you list a few things. And I would even argue if you do have that already, start to add on AI search. We have that on ours as well because I think that's becoming more of a option, and I think that's something interesting to track. But then again, having a system, using a platform, some way of tracking, okay, well, we're getting this amount of link clicks or this amount of impressions or accounts reached, and then tying it back to, okay, well, we have had this many inquiries and it's led to this many bookings, and kind of doing the conversion rate. I do think it's hard sometimes with weddings because of that large lead time that we kind of sit between. It's
That's what I was just about to say. You have to be really conscious that lead time, but also the bride. I mean, let's be honest, the bride is doing a lot of the research. So let's say the bride finds you on Instagram. She then there's so many layers before she actually makes an inquiry. She follows you for a few weeks on Instagram. She jumps across to your TikTok. She goes onto your website and then she might inquire. So even though it's okay, she found you through Instagram, she also probably went through a whole heap of other searches before she actually made that inquiry. So this is where the conversation around the bridal industry is just so different to any other industry, because it's not like an e-com brand where you're yeah, I just got a targeted post, or I just went on the Instagram, found this cute jumper and I just bought it because it's $150. This is such a layered approach.
Well, especially as well when we then start to talk about vanity metrics, I still think, people still focus on followers. I want X amount of followers and that will mean that I have a level of success or whatever. And I think the nature of how we interact with Instagram has changed. And I don't think followers, especially for the wedding industry, is that much of I wouldn't put as much emphasis on that metric over something like a save or a share. And I'm sure we've talked about this before, but a save is someone liking that post so much that they want to save it to come back to it. Whether they do or not, it's a different story. I have so many things saved that I haven't gone back to. Or they're sharing it. So they have then shared that piece of content over to a friend, a sister, a mother, a brother, whatever, and got it in front of them as well. I also think, and this is maybe more of a take me personally on this, but I might find an account and I might save some posts, but I won't follow that account.
Yeah, it's a very odd way of tracking metrics for the wedding industry. That's what I always say to people. But also you might have a follower for 18 months and then she's moved on, she's gotten pregnant, she's renovating a house, whatever it is that she's doing next in life after she has gotten married, she might not follow you guys anymore. So then you lose a follower, which is not like an e-com brand. You kind of have them for essentially life. So it's like, don't focus so much on your followers. In fact, focus on how your followers are engaged and how they are directly coming to bookings.
I think more than you probably realize, your best followers, your ones most likely convert, are like they lurk in the background. Like their accounts on private, they're not like they're a consumer of posts and information, but they're not necessarily a creator. They're not necessarily like flashing, day in the lives or whatever. I think a lot of the time your most valuable and like the client that you'll get over the line is more of a lurker than a active participant.
Yeah.
All right, one last question. Are there any there that you see that tickle your fancy?
I mean, I always love the question around, should I use influencers to market my bridal boutique? Because this kind of leans into my area of the business and kind of what I do with bridal boutiques in particular, or bridal designers. There is two parts to the answer. Yes, I think that businesses should, and I do think it is worth the money if it is a contra deal and there is a value metric, and that needs to be formally, I must say, formally written up between yourself and that party, because we don't want any bridges to be burned, and you want to make sure that your business is in the right place for this agreement to happen. But I really do see value in it, and I think that it is an incredible way to market your business to your ideal client. I also think that it works because they have their own following. And if that is your ideal market, then you're just completely marketing yourself to.
Well, you're leveraging their audience kind of like the exact way back in the days. You would have a wedding directory listing and leverage off their audience.
Yeah. So yes.
It's more personal.
I think that businesses should, and it doesn't need to be the crazy big, insane followers. Is it, not followers, influencers, sorry. Could it just be a micro influencer and she's just targeting that particular pocket that your bridal boutique is based in? I think that it is a very valuable exercise to always have talent agencies that you're reaching out to, or influencer agencies, and seeing what they have on the books for engaged influencers.
I would agree. And the only caveat with that is I do think, from our experience, it's a lot more work.
Yeah.
It's kind of like PR in a way. Like there is a lot of work up front about researching and finding opportunities and working out, what that contra deal looks like. But I think if you can also find someone that you could maybe create a bit of an ongoing relationship with, then that makes that time and effort up front of finding that person more beneficial.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was fun.
That was fun. I feel like we were able to go really in depth, and these are conversations that I have on onboarding calls or like client discovery calls. So it is really wonderful to kind of have these listed out, and hopefully it kind of tickled some questions that is sitting in the background.
Yeah. But if you have any other ones, just shoot us a DM us.
Yeah.
We'd love to have a chat in the DMs.
Yeah.
Well, until next time. Bye.